Hello, guys. Welcome to the next podcast on Dawdle. And today we have got Holly Leverson joining us directly from, I think, which part of UK is it, Holly?
So I'm in England. I'm in rural England.
Right, I got it. And just to give you an introduction about Holly, Holly has kind of occupied various HR leadership positions in various organizations based in UK. And she has also worked across the globe with various organizations in Asia, North America, and Europe. Besides, Holly didn't start her career in HR. She has around 10 years of experience before coming into HR, before occupying leadership positions in HR. She has done the grind work for 10 years. And that's what makes Holly very different from a lot of other HR professionals because she has done execution. She has seen execution happening. She understands people. And besides having a great in-depth knowledge of HR leadership principles, Holly also does leadership trainings, takes leadership sessions, helps a number of startups and organizations in their hiring, recruitment, setting up HR processes. I welcome you, Holly. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very much. Thank you, Rishi. It's great to be here. And thank you for that amazing introduction.
Great, Holly. So I would like to start with, would like to kind of pick up your brain on a few topics which I've listed. But the first one is that, today is a concept of remote and hybrid work environment. How do you define effective leadership and what unique qualities will set modern leaders apart in this age of remote and hybrid working?
I believe that emotional intelligence, empathy, and the ability to have several leadership styles on go simultaneously is the most important differentiator. So if you're dealing with people from different cultures, it's important to understand how they interpret information differently and how they communicate that information differently, and how your style of communication could be having more of an effect on your credibility with them than you actually realize. And then if you're managing people who are remote, then the managerial style might be slightly different to if you're working in an office together, whether that's the tactical execution of your management sort of philosophy. That could be to do with like one-to-one meetings, or it could be to do generally with performance management. You're going to need to be able to balance a lot of different styles.
That was superb, like, Holly. You know, uh, so, there's a question which usually comes in, like, a lot of organizations have been calling people back to offices. There has been a lot of organizations inside US, Europe also. What do you think? Like, is it really required for employees to come back to office, or, you know, systems have to change and kind of, now employers have to realize that hybrid uh, is the new norm and they have to get habituated with?
I think it depends hugely on the organization, the people in it, and what you're trying to achieve. What is your vision for the future of your company? If it's that people are able to work, if you're hiring people who have the capacity to work autonomously, then it makes sense to give them a really micromanagement style of leadership. And that means not putting in systems that could inhibit their ability to perform. If you are a business where, your localized area is extremely important, and the way that you manage people requires them to be in situ with you to work through various R&D and various product development and so on, then you're going to want to consider it. So I think the response to that is it depends very much on the business, what the business wants to achieve, and the people in it. And acknowledging that remote work done well or hybrid work done well is equally effective as in-office work done well.
Got it. Absolutely. And it kind of also instills a sense of ownership inside employees, right? And what I feel is that a good organization is one where everybody takes the ownership. Follow-ups are less, and people do understand what is their responsibilities like.
Sure, you don't want to be hiring people that don't have the ability to think and perform autonomously. Otherwise, you're going to end up spending an awful lot of time micromanaging them and babysitting. And you shouldn't always be working in your business as a leader. You should be working on your business. So you want to consider how you hire. And a lot of problems that leadership can experience in terms of productivity is based on the people they already have in their business and their leadership style. If you work on the root cause, which are your own behaviors and your own systems and processes, and who you hire, then that can have a really large compound effect later down the line.
That was nicely explained, Holly. Thank you so much for that insight. Now, Holly, these days a lot of companies are going global. You need to hire people across geographies. So this is where my next topic is all about. So what are the key elements to fostering a cohesive global team across different diverse cultures and reasons? And how do you maintain a strong communication in a digital first world these days?
Okay. I think the most important thing is that you are in a position where you can unify the most important systems and processes that your business needs in order to have full visibility of your operations, your turnover, your staff turnover, and all of your metrics, but also in a position to offer the flexibility for local cultures and local environments to either maintain or to grow their own sense of culture. So it really is about unifying what's necessary and not tolerating resistance towards unification of strategic operations. However, an empathy that you are not sterilizing local cultures or trying to enforce something that won't necessarily work on a global scale. In terms of communication, because different cultures have such variety of ways of communicating and interpreting, such as high context, low context, the most important thing with global communication is to ensure that you communicate with everyone consistently and that they understand that the global language of the business is managed in the same way. And the easiest way to do this is to offer low context communication across the business at all times.
That was so nicely explained, Holly. And, there's a lot of global recruitment platforms also coming up, these days. Would you like to, talk a little bit on that, on the tech part of global hiring?
So, in terms of external or in terms of the internal systems that people use?
We can take both, like.
Wow. Okay. I think that it's really important that if a business has a dispersed infrastructure or like a multi-entity operation, like a conglomerate, that they are using a single consistent point of data management for all of their applicant tracking. So there are really large software systems that you can use for this. Some of the big names are Greenhouse, Lever, Workable. It depends on your infrastructure and your needs, which one you would choose. When it comes to advertising and global advertising, a lot of these systems will offer integrations that will allow you to push out to the best global and localized job systems. So this could be like Indeed, Glassdoor, Reed, and other tech boards. Most good predominant advertising systems will allow you to integrate. So your applicants will flow straight into your applicant tracking system. And when it's globalized through one system, it's a lot easier to track metrics against various regions. So you can say, well, we're doing really good with back-end hiring here in Asia, but we're doing far better with front-end engineering here in Europe. Easier.
Yeah.
Rather than having a lot of different dispersed and localized systems. I know that in India, they use a system called Naukri. And Naukri is incredible. It's like the one-stop shop for recruitment. However, it's really important that you are also, if it's necessary to use a localized system that offers as much value as Naukri locally, then it's really important that you are in tandem working with your internal globalized ATS system. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really difficult to collate and use your data effectively as your business grows.
Absolutely. And that is something which I like about Holi is that, you have such a great idea of geographies and how systems work across geographies, makes you, such a unique HR professional, because there are very few HR professionals across the globe who might have worked, like in our last conversation, we were also talking about how did you help an Indian company, do its hiring, set up its HR processes. How difficult it was, Holi? Like, see, you have invested a lot of your time in London, but you work with companies outside of UK and Europe as well. So what is your approach when you start working with a company, say, outside of your geography, which you're familiar of?
So this is a lesson learned the hard way. However, absolutely get to know the people before you try and make any changes, and understand that winning trust in different cultures can be different to how you perceive trust. So trust in a lot of, say, Western cultures, for a gross overgeneralization, is based on your kind of career and credibility. Whereas in Eastern cultures, again, a great generalization, but it's more based on relationships, your family and your friends. So if you want to win trust with those cultures, you need to understand how to get into that first before you can move into great operational changes, and really take time to get to know the people and understand them before you just go in ripping things to pieces like I usually would. If I was working with like an entity in a region I was significantly more culturally familiar with.
Thank you for such an insightful answer and an insightful discussion on this topic. I will go to another, interesting topic that comes to my mind is that since you have already invested a lot of time in this domain of HR, you have seen how, traditional HR processes evolve over a period of time, especially in this digital era. And, would like to understand that, what are those innovative HR systems that you have found most impactful while an organization is scaling?
Okay. So my experience in HR was earlier on predominantly in talent acquisition. So I can't speak as someone who has worked in HR for a very protracted period of time. It's been more recent in my career. What I would say on systems that offer significant value for scaling organizations is keep an eye on companies like Deal, DEEL, who facilitate remote payments. I use Deal to scale all the remote payments for Sporty Group when I was scaling with them. They have a phenomenal system. It's very easy to use. It's very straightforward and it's extremely cost efficient. And they have gone through various waves of expanding their offering. So the difference between how HR needed to use software systems before has slightly, the need is slightly higher. The demand is a lot higher. And before, we would see an awful lot of separate systems that didn't necessarily deliver everything that you needed. Whereas now we're seeing the emergence of these disruptive softwares that really do offer a full suite of everything, from applicant tracking to onboarding to payments to full lifecycle performance management. So I'm not saying that Deal has all those right now, but there are definitely some emerging single point of use products that are definitely making a huge impact.
Got it. So, since you've invested a lot of your time in talent management, Holly, and, in this rapid growth environment, how do you ensure that empathy and authentic human connection remain at the heart of team management and leadership?
So this is going back to our first question where I mentioned empathy and emotional intelligence skills. Really knowing your people, knowing what they want to achieve from their career, what type of management works for them, what they feel their weaknesses are, and then using your own experience and leadership knowledge to assess how best to work with them is really going to be necessary. When you're scaling, you can't have a one size fits all managerial philosophy unless you have unrivaled levels of, I suppose, influence. So we're talking like world leaders, despots, cult leaders, and some of the biggest tech leaders in the world. They have the impact to be able to afford a single management style. Whereas for the rest of us, we need to be able to adapt, and connection becomes more important as ever the more dispersed and online we become. So tuning in your frequency to those emotional intelligence skills, which can be learned through research and through training, is going to be really important. Whether that's self-learning, like autodidact, or whether it's learning and development programs or coaching that is provided by an employer or by a workplace.
Huli, I've got a question in my mind. This is an out of the question, is that I'd like to put it in front of you, is that people usually say that, while you are hiring for a startup, hire for attitude and train for skills, not the other way around, because, in the early stages of the company, you need people who can stick around with you, who can face the ups and downs of the business. Yeah. Yeah.
Challenge phrasing slightly. I would say instead of saying hire for aptitude and train for skills, I would say hire for aptitude and excellent skills, and don't hire based on arbitrary qualifications or years of tenure. You want to hire talent, people who have communication skills, emerging leadership skills. Communication skills are so big, such an important factor. And if you have someone who is talent and is interested in bettering themselves and learning, can adapt the existing skills and experience they have to fit environments far more productively, and their performance will far outperform someone who is average with arbitrary experience.
I got it. So you mean to say that learning agility is something which an organization should really look for while hiring somebody, in their organization?
Someone who is like a Swiss Army knife of talent, someone who has communication skills, critical thinking ability, the ability to problem solve. These are the things that you really need to be looking for.
Yeah, that's true. And Foley, there's one more thing is that there's a lot of tools that has come which does your social media audits and all, and kind of helps companies to hire the right candidates. Right. I was talking to one of the founders who is based out in Australia. He has built a tool which kind of audits your social media and gives information to the recruiter that what kind of person is this person is like in terms of his, thought process, or in terms, as you told, critical thinking and all that. But what I have always felt is that hiring is done in such a small span of time that it gets very difficult to get a complete idea of a person, right? Means, there are a lot of people coming with career gaps, and career gaps is some topic which I would like to discuss with you because you have taken two career gaps in your career, where you proudly write is that, after 3 years, 3.5 years of working, you took a 6 months, 7 months break to pursue what you want to do. In India, this was not common. Nowadays, it's becoming, kind of, people are normalizing it to take career breaks. What are your viewpoints on career breaks, and, you know, and how should we make a system where the talent acquisition team, it may not happen in UK as such, but in other geographies like India, it is still remains an issue that, the HR people, kind of reject your profile just because of the fact that you have a career.
I think open-mindedness is a really important asset for anyone in talent acquisition or part of the talent acquisition lifecycle. So hiring managers, CEOs, what you see on a CV or on a profile is not necessarily giving you a full story. If you looked at my CV, then you probably wouldn't even get like a fraction of taste for how I am, how I behave. These indicators tells and the rapport that you can build with someone in a one-to-one environment like this far outstrips what you see in black and white. There are many reasons why people take breaks from their career. Some of them are more admirable, and some of them are just like, "Oh, good for you. You wanted some time off." For me, I firmly believe that if someone wants to build a life that meets their expectations for success, the need to take a step back and holistically review what you've done, where you're going, how you got there, and if that remains in service to you, all of those points is really important. Um, I took a step back from my time after Digital before I joined Sporty because I questioned, do I really want to remain in talent acquisition? And the answer was yes, but I don't want it to be my exclusive responsibility. I would like to broaden myself into more operational opportunities. And taking a step back from Sporty was a wild ride. And I achieved so much there, and it is an amazing company to work for. But I was so consumed by my own desire to be successful in that role. It took me some time to recalibrate and figure out, okay, well, do I want to work at that pace? Or where do I go from here now that I have all of these new skills? So taking a step back can be really, really important. And I think it's definitely something to be approached with open mindedness if you are someone assessing candidates for a role.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is one more, topic I think I would like to discuss with you, Holi, is that there are a lot of companies in India which kind of ask for your past salary slips in order to
Mhm.
negotiate salaries with you. Although this is not done in, say, a lot of companies inside UK or US. And I'm not sure about this. You correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think this practice should also go away? Like, kind of seeing into the salary slips of your previous organization to decide your future salary?
Yeah, I think that there might be some privacy concerns for me in that one. And also, like, some ethics a little bit too, like demanding evidence is almost like assuming a level of disingenuity, which is counterintuitive to building a positive relationship with someone when they're supposed to join your company. Just because something is the norm doesn't mean it's the best way to achieve something. We hired a lot of staff in India in my last role. I'm not aware that we asked for a single pay slip of anyone. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I wasn't embedded enough in the HR process, but I certainly never left it on the table as a prerequisite. And if I'd found out about it, I would have challenged it. I believe that people should be paid what they're worth. And if you have an allocation for a role, someone allegedly has the skill to do that role, and then they are able to perform in that role, they should be paid fairly. Organizations and employers have a responsibility to the people that are working with them. It's a mutual exchange. And I don't believe that people should be taken advantage of in the sense of being underpaid. Equally, I don't believe that people should be excessively paid, because that's crazy, and it causes bubbles in the market, and it causes a lot of difficulties. You want to create, as a business, you want to do the best you can to maintain parity across salary levels, in roles, skills, seniority, in order to create a scalable compensation infrastructure for yourself as you grow. If you have people who are doing the same role, paid this much, and people who are paid that much, but they've been there for 5 years, they just joined 6 months ago, it can be extremely challenging to close those gaps and to close the ethics gap in your business in terms of compensation. So that would be my advice: is pay fairly, have a benchmark, have a band-aid that you work to for each role and each level, and stick with that.
That was very
And review every year. No, review your system every year to ensure that you are meeting any type of inflation that could be affecting your employees. A really nice way to manage this is to just look at the inflation rate for your country for the previous year. And then when you do your end of year appraisals, you can calculate that percentile increase, whether it's like 2.8 or 4.5 or whatever. And your people will really, really love you for doing that.
absolutely. And when people love you, your company grows, because companies and organizations are not built on ideas, neither on products. It's built on
Sure. Yeah. It's like synergy. The more the more fairly you treat people, the more you trust them, and the more autonomy you give them, the more you get back. And obviously there are rules and structures to that, because nothing is so black and white. There is a balance, but the more you give, the more you will get back.
right, Holly. And now we come to the end of the discussion. I'm going to kind of ask you a very important question, is that you have invested 10 years of your life not in HR domain. What made you come into HR and kind of go ahead and occupy leadership positions in different organizations?
I've always loved working with people. I find it fascinating to understand what makes people tick. And I think that there are lovers and haters in this world, and I'm definitely a lover. And I really take huge pleasure and joy in seeing other people succeed and grow. And my quest to become someone that has a position of responsibility in a business, and that has the influence to be able to help other people grow in their career, was a mission that was built on a base of having negative experiences in my earlier career, not being given opportunity, not being recognized for my skills, and essentially feeling like the world can be a much better place if people are miserable in their jobs because their manager doesn't really care about them, or is too or even worse, is a manager who doesn't encourage growth in other people because they want to keep everything in a certain place, and they just want to keep themselves on a pedestal. The worst. Let people grow, hire people smarter than you, and see what happens. You might learn something.
Absolutely true. And you know what? It's insecurity.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Rishi, I talk about all of this in my videos, like micromanagement, bad management, growth, all of it. It's all in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the power of positivity is, kind of when you think good about others, when you think of growing others, you are kind of growing yourself, right? And
Sure.
and that is one thing that I've always maintained in my life, fully, which has helped me a lot, is that whenever I see a lot of news, I see a lot of reels, which is making me negative. Maybe, I just go,
Non-stop real news, Rishi.
just go to my car, lock myself in my car. I pick up the diary and I write 25 different things for which the world is such a beautiful place and I should enjoy those things. So as you rightly told,
Gratitude exercises can do wonders for the mind. It's true. It's true.
manifestation and love.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am, and thank you so much for your insightful conversations. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to introducing you to a number of companies where you can assist them with various things regarding HR, and also guide a lot of HR stuff which is coming from across the globe. Reach out to the right companies as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.